UK's top court says definition of a woman is based on biological sex and excludes transgender people. The UK Supreme Court ruled Wednesday that a woman is someone born biologically female, excluding transgender people from the legal definition in a long-running dispute between a feminist group and the Scottish government. The court said the unanimous ruling shouldn't be seen as victory by one side, but several women's groups that supported the appeal celebrated outside court and hailed it as a major win in their effort to protect spaces designated for women. "Everyone knows what sex is and you can't change it," said Susan Smith, co-director of For Women Scotland, which brought the case. "It's common sense, basic common sense, and the fact that we have been down a rabbit hole where people have tried to deny science and to deny reality, and hopefully this will now see us back to reality." 5 judges ruled that the UK Equality Act means trans women can be excluded from some groups in single-sex spaces such as changing rooms, homeless shelters, swimming areas and medical or counseling services provided only to women. The court said the ruling did not remove rights for trans people still protected from discrimination under UK law, but it said certain protections should apply only to biological females and not transgender women. The ruling brings some clarity in the UK to an issue that has polarized politics in some other countries, particularly the United States. Republican-controlled states over the last 4 years have been banning gender-affirming care for minors, barring transgender women and girls from sports competitions that align with their gender and restricting which public bathrooms transgender people can use. Since returning to office in January, President Donald Trump has signed orders to define the sexes as only male and female and has tried to kick transgender service members out of the military, block federal spending on gender-affirming care for those under 19 and block their sports participation nationally. His efforts are being challenged in court. The UK case stems from a 2018 law passed by the Scottish Parliament saying 50% of the membership of the boards of Scottish public bodies should be women. Transgender women with gender recognition certificates were to be included in meeting the quota. Interpreting sex as certificated sex would cut across the definitions of man and woman, and thus, the protected characteristic of sex in an incoherent way, Justice Patrick Hodge said in summarizing the case. It would create heterogeneous groupings. The campaign group Scottish Trans said it was shocked and disappointed by the ruling, saying it would undermine legal protections for transgender people enshrined in the 2004 Gender Recognition Act. Maggie Chapman, a Green Party lawmaker in the Scottish Parliament, said the ruling was deeply concerning for human rights and a huge blow to some of the most marginalized people in our society. Trans people have been cynically targeted and demonized by politicians and large parts of the media for far too long, she said. This has contributed to attacks on long-standing rights and attempts to erase their existence altogether. Groups that had challenged the Scottish government uncorked a bottle of champagne outside the court and sang, "Women's rights are human rights." The court has given us the right answer. The protected characteristic of sex, male and female, refers to reality, not to paperwork, said Maya Forstater of the group Sex Matters. In 2022, an employment tribunal ruled that she had been the victim of discrimination when she lost out on a job after posting gender-critical views online. The British government welcomed the latest ruling, saying it would provide clarity and confidence for women. Single-sex spaces are protected in law and will always be protected by this government, it said. Scotland's semi-autonomous government said it accepted the judgment. "We will now engage on the implications of the ruling," First Minister John Swinney posted on X. "Protecting the rights of all will underpin our actions." For Women Scotland had argued that the Scottish officials' redefinition of woman went beyond Parliament's powers. But Scottish officials then issued new guidance stating that the definition of woman included someone with a gender recognition certificate. FWS sought to overturn that. Not tying the definition of sex to its ordinary meaning means that public boards could conceivably comprise of 50% men and 50% men with certificates, yet still lawfully meet the targets for female representation, the group's director Trina Budge said previously. The challenge was rejected by a court in 2022, but the group was granted permission last year to take its case to the Supreme Court. Aidan O'Neill, a lawyer for FWS, told the Supreme Court judges, 3 men and 2 women, that under the Equality Act, sex should refer to biological sex as understood in ordinary, everyday language. "Our position is your sex, whether you are a man or a woman or a girl or a boy, is determined from conception in utero, even before one's birth, by one's body," he said. "It is an expression of one's bodily reality. It is an immutable biological state." The women's rights group counted among its supporters author J.K. Rowling, who reportedly donated tens of thousands of pounds to back its work. The Harry Potter writer has been vocal in arguing that the rights for trans women should not come at the expense of those who are born biologically female. Rowling said she was so proud of the extraordinary tenacious for Women Scotland campaigners who took the case on a years-long battle through the courts. Rowling wrote on X that, in winning, they've protected the rights of women and girls across the UK. Opponents, including Amnesty International, said excluding transgender people from sex discrimination protections conflicted with human rights laws. Amnesty submitted a brief in court saying it was concerned about the deterioration of the rights for trans people in the UK and abroad. A blanket policy of barring trans women from single-sex services is not a proportionate means to achieve a legitimate aim, the human rights group said.